deserve that. I promised you today that I was going to have someone who is an intended candidate in the house. I like the fact that he's actually a young man. It bodes well for the young people in Nigeria. I also have someone who is a consultant and a specialist, all things policy and public affairs. I'm going to take my time to introduce these two people, but this is me trying to say welcome to the candidate. Do stay tuned. Live, go straight to the Facebook page, Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, and click on videos and Presume Forum. You will be connected directly to us visually, so you can see everything for yourself. Like and follow us. Also, you can tweet at us at HRights Radio. Let's have your contributions on the show. Well, today I have Mr. Kunle Lawal, who is a management consultant and the National Publicity Secretary of COA Party. He's also a Senate aspirant in the FCT. You're very welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Also, I spoke about Mr. Kemas Osuji. He is a public affairs consultant and all things policy and strategy for the government. Welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I like the fact that they're young men in the building. So, it's a place, this is the stage where we're trying to open, the floor for a lot of young people to be part of the conversation. I mean, we've been talking about how the old people have been in conversation, the young people have been shouting. Well, I feel like, the first step you took, Mr. Kunle, was to, actually come out. But then one of the first questions I want to ask you is, what made you come out, to say I want to run?
First, we have to dispel the myth that politics is restricted to a few. I think that's one of the first things we must pay attention to in Nigeria. We must also look at the whole system as it is. It's not exactly where we want it, and if we do not take time, we'll become the lost generation. That's not to say being young is a guarantee for position or for entitlement to a particular political position, but I would like to say capacity comes a lot to play when you're vying for a position. And I looked at my strengths and my weaknesses and of course thought I would fit best in the capacity I intend to run for.
Okay, so briefly, why did you go into politics? I mean, I know you said don't call you a politician, you're just a Nigerian, the trivialized Nigerian at that one, but why did you go into politics? Seeing as you were one to be, if someone actually asked, you were probably going to be a historian, dealing with, histories of civilization in different countries, but why politics?
It was a kind of a transition. Let's start with some time ago I spent a lot of time criticizing, maybe how government did things, how the system was supposed to be, how things were supposed to be addressed. And then you get somewhere along the line and then you find out, okay, you know what, let's start a movement. And I initiated that with a few people. It grew up to about 5,000, had operations across states. It was known as the Orange Movement. We tried to change bills, write bills to the Senate, try to educate young people on different things in Nigeria. And then you just wake up one day and find out that you're actually striving against the machine. The only way to change the system is to be part of the machine. And then you now realize, okay, maybe it's about time I came out personally.
Oh, I like that. Over to you, Mr. Kemas. You have been in the political scene. You have seen how these things have done. Elections have come and gone. If you were, or rather, seeing the history or the experiences you have, where would you say we are at, and as a country, and at our as electorates and as candidates, where would you say we are at?
Personally, it's progress. Quite interesting. This is a healthy one. Literally, it tells everyone that you can actually run and win or run and make, irrespective of. I think it's a healthy one. I think we're going somewhere. And look at what happened in Anambra State. You can see the people coming to decide and vote, and you can see all that. So I think we're progressing.
Well, I wouldn't believe that if you look at what happened in Anambra State, you will see that the people are coming together. I know, because a lot of people, I'm going to have that conversation on Monday. A lot of people did complain that INEC did not actually handle those elections well, security-wise, procedure-wise, process-wise. INEC did not handle it well. And then here you're saying to me that there is hope for Nigeria in that aspect. If you're using Anambra elections as a measurement, then I feel like, probably our standards are very low.
No, not really. I believe strongly that it was a free and fair election, because other aspirants, they were like, they were comfortable with the elections.
Really? Did you have a conversation with all of them and they told you that they were comfortable?
Yeah, if you look at if you had read what Chidoka said, if you had read also Tony Moye, if you had read also Obaze, they all said they were all confident. They were not ready to go to contest.
You don't think they were paid, or they were, they had a conversation? Okay, when we come back, I'll be talking to Mr. Kunle Lawal, being an ardent believer in education. What with you doing over 200 working hours at GSS Maitama, teaching and all that, when we come back, we'll talk about that and how you think that, you can help the education sector. Do stay tuned.
Human Rights Radio.
Are you looking for a stimulating working environment with exciting projects and an amazing 100,000 naira salary? For full details on how to apply, visit www.mylearningacademy.com and check the announcement page for more details. My Learning Academy, your reliable online learning educational partner. www.mylearningacademy.com.
Welcome, my dear friends. Human Rights Radio. Your 100% effort is not good enough. Give me 101.1 effort.
All right, welcome back to the candidate right here on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. It is 14 minutes past 5. And I was talking to Mr. Kemis Asiju on how you can use Anambra elections to say that is the stake, that is the standard of elections. How can you say that? I feel that what with everybody talking about it, that it didn't go well just because the other candidates say, well, we give up and all that, or we throw in the towel. Does that actually mean that these things were done right? What's your standard for elections? Maybe that's where I need to start from.
No, okay, I get when you say that, but it's not really like what I'm saying that we're progressing. It's much more better. And
well, maybe you're trying to be on the safe side. I mean, I'm at a place of hope. But I'm talking to you about you're an ardent believer in education, educational systems and all that. You did over 200 working hours in GSS Maitama, working with that and what we currently have, our educational system in the country. What do you think is wrong, and what would you do better?
Of course, I must first state that position I'm vying for allows me to create policies, not to say, okay, you know what, let's create a competency test for teachers or whatever. I wouldn't have that position.
Really? You're taking the jab at the competency test right now?
I didn't take a jab, no offense. But being direct about how I intend to approach education. From my experience with volunteer teaching in GSS Maitama, I found out something. The problem with the education system is not only that the teachers are incompetent, but I must state that they are not even role models to the students they're trying to teach. I remember looking up to my integrated science teacher then and wishing I knew as much as him. I knew my geography teacher remained a personal friend till he passed on. They were always people I wanted to aspire to be like. They were people that I always looked up to. So if that is missing of course, you cannot impart knowledge. And you know, when I came to the class, because I took them in English and economics, and then I also proceeded to take government, I found out something that, okay, I come to the class, I'm a volunteer teacher, you know, I talk about things, and you know, we can transcend from discussing English to even other parameters in which they are going through in their present life at their present stage. And I found out they related easier to me than they would relate to the standard teacher. And for me, that gave me another example to how things should be. And if you're asking my direct views on policies towards education, I was looking at something, but you know, it's not fully schemed out totally yet. You know, a way private schools can mother public schools, a kind of transition help system between the three, because instead of creating and looking for so much amount of money to try to invest into the educational sector, though we should improve our investments in the educational sector, I think clearly if we're able to bring the private schools to have a stake in public schools, or to, let me put it better, bring private schools to have a stake in education in Nigeria, be a probable great response.
Now, fantastic. We've spoken about education, so that seems to be like the only thing that you have focused yourself in. And if you would want me to vote for you, you would say, oh, I will make policies in education and every other thing, you know, let's forget it. Because I know that, you know, the candidates, they come here and they say something, and we buy that line. It's like I said, it's like a lullaby. We buy into it. But you see, what makes you stand out? What makes you stand out from the regular candidates, you know, who we already know that is coming in? You know, what makes you stand out?
You know, when you look at my manifesto, the first thing you see is education, and that's because everything stems out of...
I'm not trying to look at your manifesto. I'm trying to look at the person, because the person will make me believe if he can translate his manifesto. If I don't trust the person, how am I going to believe? For example, this current government had a fantastic manifesto, but we didn't look at the people. We didn't look at the fact that, did we trust these people with their history? Did they deliver? Did they do what they said they were going to do with the past, you know, years? We didn't look at that. But we said, oh, they had a fantastic manifesto. Oh my God, they would have paid anybody to write that manifesto for them. So we swallowed it hook, line, sinker. Look at where we are. So it's not about your manifesto as a person, your belief systems. You know, what is it that will make me, you know, say I trust this man, that when he goes into that place, even if he doesn't give me 100% of what he promised me, I'm sure that, you know, some level, 30%, and then the rest will be in place.
Okay, when I mentioned manifesto, the only reason I said it was because it comes first on my manifesto. I was not saying that's all I have to offer. Of course, the key to my campaign is just like you. I'm the average Nigerian. I've lived like everybody else. I don't intend, and I remember clearly stating it, I don't intend to live in any senatorial housing system. I would remain in my rented house as a senator. I don't think that would change who I am. I also stated,
how do I believe that you will stay there? I mean, I will not come and hold you if you move to a big house.
Let me explain something. From the point that you stand in politics, at the point I stand in, I can only make promises. I cannot fast forward time and show you how it's going to be, then track you back and then show you how it is. So you can't put me in a corner on that, because I'm not yet there. But one of the key things, because I live an average life like everybody else, I don't have a backyard full of dollars, and this also is no punch to anybody. But one of the key things I think should be looked at, and one of the key things the whole policies I plan to run on, I think one of the key factors I'm focusing on fully is standardization of rent in particular areas in Abuja. I feel that the rent system in Abuja has affected actually people, and you know, for me it translates even to corruption, because when you look at it, you're asking people to live in a very highly cosmopolitan town with so X amount of salaries, and then they have XY money in their jurisdiction or within their reach, and they can't pay their rent. And come on, let's put everybody back on a simple parameter. Everybody will do whatever it takes to protect their families. So I think if we're able to standardize rent in some places, it could extend to curbing corruption, and then you know, also extend to a lot of other things. So I think the landlords might not look at it, but I'm trying to develop a system that is holistic and tries to take care of everybody. But I think it's about time we have standardized rent in Abuja.
Education and housing issues. Over to you, Mr. Kemas. Now, I know we have a mutual friend who's about to run, or who wants to run, you know, and looking at his, like I always say, track records, and he'll speak and all that. Oh no, okay, let me leave that. How would you rate the enlightenment of voters, Nigerians? do they know what they are going into? You know, the agreement, the deals that they are going into when they say, I'm going to vote this person. Going back to the Anambra election, I did hear that these people, the voters themselves, requested for money before voting. They said they were paid from 2,000 to 3,000, you know. These people have placed a premium on their vote to say, well, if you want me to vote for you, you're going to have to give me 3,000 or this amount of money for me to vote. So is it that it's lack of information, or it's not an informed choice, or that we have thrown in our towel to say, well, no matter what we do, those who we win will win. So let's make something out of this.
I think it's because they're not. I think first should be the level of literacy. The literacy level in Nigeria is very high. So it's a problem.
Illiteracy?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Then I also think it's because of previous elections, what played out. And I was involved in the 2015 elections in Imo State. So after that, people began to think that it's about money. So it wasn't like that in Anambra State. Up to this last election, it wasn't like that, but people felt that, okay, it's happening everywhere, so come on, they have to give us money to.
I'm just praying that Kemas, that nobody cornered you somewhere, because I know the Kemas, who is a fighter against government policies, a lot of things. You seem to just be on the low key. What's going on? Okay, I'm gonna give you a break for now, but then I'm going to go to Mr. Kunle before we go for a break. You have a background in public administration, and then critics say that our civil service is an unproductive workforce. We have failed in that regard. What's your answer to that?
I've worked as personal assistant to the Minister of Women Affairs.
No, on IT, yes.
Yes. IT and publicity. That was in 2009, about 2009. I got in contact with the civil service for the first time then, because I always ran my own company. And I was only doing them on a surface basis. But I found out one thing. First, I think employed more than we need, first in civil service. And then secondly, there's this redundancy because, it's nobody's money.
Government money.
Yeah, there's this redundancy that comes with it. Nobody really cares. So if you ask me, yes, of course, I'll be proponent for, reducing civil service within a level that, of course, we can afford, and we can expect a particular amount of effort put in during the month. Because as we have civil services now, you have people that don't even go to work and just pick salaries. Government's spending quite a lot, and I'm talking of these losses. If we look at them averagely, let's say for Abuja now, it would cost Abuja, the FCT, more than 30 billion a month. That's money that could be diverted into something else.
Okay, to you, Mr. Kemis, I hope you're ready to have this conversation with me. Well, talking about health, the infrastructure level of in health, and our health system. I know that that is poor, but let me keep my, my reasoning to myself. Let me keep my bias to myself. I mean, who knows? Maybe you fly out of the country to go and treat yourself. But what's your scorecard? And if you were to ever run, what would you do better? If you said no, I mean, you might just come here and say, fantastic. I don't know.
Yeah, the health system is poor. I believe it's poor. I believe it's below average. But I also believe that if I'm to run, I'm not going to run. So if I'm to run, then I think policy first. And I think we're talking about accountability everywhere in the world. So I think policy first, accountability. Then I also think that what we should look at is bringing all the stakeholders in the health sector together.
Fantastic.
To be able to come out with something to work out. Let's see how we can do this. Let's see how we can reach out to the health centers.
Let me shock you. This year alone, we've had over 700, conversations, forums, seminars, conferences where different stakeholders have come together to talk about it. But, well, I still went to Gariki Hospital. I still went to Wuse Hospital, and
I'm not a believer in the massive
Forums
policies and dreams of for in the health sector.
Okay.
I think one of the things we really need to focus on is community health insurance. we should stop the national. Of course, national health insurance works, but we need to develop a community health insurance. I'm looking at a system where you see you have to adapt things to what's obtainable in this country.
Thank you.
So of course, we should have a system where farmers could give maybe a particular amount of yam, you understand, in exchange for drugs of the same amount. You understand? We should have that kind of system. Yes, of course, I've not developed the framework totally, but of course, that is my idea of how things are. I've had the opportunity of going to primary health care centers in villages across Abuja, and you don't want to know what 15 kilometers from the city center.
I know. I went to Shere. I did go to Shere. I went to that community and I wept. The reason why I wept was because, you know, I don't think they have any leaders representing them. I know, because if they've truly had somebody representing them, they would not be in that form of decrepit. When I miss the word, it is actually decrepit. I was talking to someone the other day, Mr. Iman Joko, and he was saying to me that, how did you even get there? What form of transportation did you get there? And they have a senator representing them. They have someone House of Reps. You know, they have people, you know, representing them. And yet, we have a minister, you know. That's what I'm saying, you know. So what are you going to do? Because you've told me again the same thing they say. You're working on a policy. We're working on something. What is the action plan? What are we going? Because see, what I believe now, if I were to vote for somebody, I will vote for someone who has started to do something before I vote for him. Someone who has action on ground. Someone who has partnered, you know, with civil society organizations, FBOs, you know, NGOs, CSOs, government or international organizations, to bring actionable intel, you know, bring it so that I can make an informed choice. So that when I'm voting for you, it is because this guy saw that we did not have health facilities. Well, he brought, you know, partnership into the village, and, you know, we got drugs, you know, so because everybody's saying the same thing you're saying. You're working holistically on a plan, on a policy. I mean, the elections are just
Tracy, I have to help you with this.
Okay.
There's something you need to understand with being an aspirant.
School me.
No, I must school you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not in position to. But I think there's something the Nigerian populace has to understand generally about politics and whatever. Yes, there are things I'm doing. Yeah, of course, for every plan I've told you while we're talking, I say it's still in the works. It's because I cannot, 2 years to an election, I cannot reveal my card.
Your blueprint. I get now.
So I'm being tactical, but I'm still trying to make relevant points, meaning I'm paying attention. Like from your view now, you know, I've been to communities. I've seen first aid boxes that only have Panadol. Of course, yes, I'm working with people. I'm working with people to change a school somewhere. I cannot mention where exactly, or which village or which community. I cannot. We're 2 years to elections. I cannot. If we're 3 days to, yes, of course, I would have said it.
So you mentioned APC, PDP. Well, we have had a lot of drama politically. The political scene has been so intense. It seems like, why do you think that the young person has a chance? For example, you know, we're working on the not too young to wrong bill for it to be passed. But, you know, even for the young person who falls into the age that is still, you know, acceptable, that decides to go and run, you know, the tickets, you know, how much? Is it affordable? Who's going to fund it? You know, how do you think that the ordinary young person can just can exist in this comments them before you political scene? I mean, please be frank, please be brazen, be you, chemist. Like,
sure, I personally think that the young person, they have a place, and I believe that it's difficult, because I remember in 2014 I was called for a conference about the youth taking over and all that. So Dr. Mrs. Kemachikwe said something. She stood up and said, yes, we want you guys to take over, but you're coming to take over our jobs, what we do for a living. And she now said, power is taken by force. So you have to muster the courage, you have to be there to take it. And if you guys do well enough, it's for the youth. So I think the youth have a place, and I think they can if they want to, because they have the percentage.
When you're talking about percentage, are you talking about crowdfunding? Because I'm looking at, you know, buying the ticket. How am I over to you, Mr. Kunle? How can a young person like me, who just earns a small salary, but I feel like, you know what, I can represent my people. I know their problems. I have policies. I have works put in ground. I've gone there. I've brought partnerships. But, you know, I can't buy the ticket because the ticket is expensive, you know. So what do I do? You know, because, for example, you not being in one of the tensioning parties, that's what I would say, you know, being in a party that, even though, you know, it contested majorly in the last election, seeing that we had a lady, you know, come out, but, you know, what is your heartfelt conversation on this issue?
Let me start by saying, if you want to become part of the process, you must of course involve yourself in the process. Like I sit down as Nigeria's youngest national publicity secretary, not because it was given to me. And I didn't join the party to get it, but I put in a lot of hard work. I've not been in politics for up to 3 years. I'm being honest. I've not been in politics for up to 3 years, but I had a vision. I knew where I was going. I knew what I wanted for myself, and so I paid the price, put in the hard work, and of course I knew I wouldn't be that visible if I were in one of the big two, which I still believe are the big one, because there's no difference between one or the other. But being straight, of course I got there. I've risen to national publicity secretary. I'm the youngest in Nigeria's history. What are you talking about? So I feel it's not only the not too young to run. The average young Nigerian should get a card. Card carrying member of a party, start to do stuff. You want to represent? Yes, I'm joining a template. I don't have a backyard of dollars. I've told you that. My campaign.
Well, you told me that. I don't know that.
My campaign is fully crowdfunded. It's fully crowdfunded. Fully. I run a fully crowdfunded. And the design of my campaign is not, even if I don't win, the design of my campaign is to develop a template in which the average Nigerian can stand up and vie for political power without necessarily, having to rob a bank or, now.
Okay. All right. You're still on to Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. My name is Tracy. You're still on to the candidate. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll keep talking about elections, mandate, and what to do. Keep listening.
Human Rights Radio.
As a
101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting. That's our huge promise to you. And just in case you just tuning in, this is The Candidate, and we're talking to Mr. Kunle Lawal, who is a Senate aspirant in the FCT. We also have been with Mr. Kemas Osuji, who is, like I said, a consultant in public affairs and all things policy and government. Okay, I know that probably, Mr. Kemas, you have been siding this government. Like, it's fantastic. But you see, for me, I need you to understand that if we cannot hold our government accountable, you mentioned something about accountability and transparency. We're looking at the anti-corruption war and fight, and how, a lot of conversations for restructuring have come up with this same government. And then you say, I read something in the newspaper this morning, how this same presidency, that gave money to the governors to be able to pay salaries, and they didn't pay salaries, has also allocated another money for them to pay the same salary that they haven't paid. What does that tell of this kind of government?
It's a thing of it's a constitution thing. That's one, because the president has his barriers.
Okay.
So we need to look at that and understand that first. Then I think
the president has his barriers. What do you mean by he has his barriers? Are you saying that the powers vested on the president are limited to what?
Of course, yes. He's going to work with the constitution. He won't work outside that. The president will not just.
I mean, you have been giving money to someone. I gave money to a governor to pay his salary. He did not pay. I gave him bailout fund. He did not pay. And I'm giving him money again. What's going on? Is it not that means that the government is part of the conversation? Maybe they're sharing the same money together. I have no idea.
No, Tracy, I don't think you should go that way. I don't think they are. I think this government is responsible enough, and I think they're doing a whole lot. I think. I believe so strong the government is doing a whole lot about this. I believe so strong, but I also think that it's a thing of the indigenes of Imo State to stand up and ask, or they know the right way to go about it.
How? Please, what's the right way to go about it? Because if they shout, they're going to probably erect a statute of somebody else. I'm just saying, because nowadays, it just seems like when you get angry, I just erect a statute. I just mold somebody. You're laughing. I mean, accountability, transparency. We're not looking at it. And yesterday, someone was saying, you can write to the Minister of Justice. Which person inside one village in Ekiti State or inside Oshogbo will pick up a pen and a paper and write to the Minister of Justice or say, my rights have been infringed? Or, sorry, we have the FOI bill. I'm requesting for information. How does that work? Mr. Kule, let me come to you.
Tracy, if I could come in here.
Yes.
Let me first state, Nigerians are politically illiterate, and I'm sorry I'm going to have to say.
Well, I wouldn't believe that, because I have most of the northern friends I have. What are you saying? I'm looking at the Meruas, they are very politically correct. They listen, they know.
Tracy, you'd have let me finish.
Okay.
When I said they're politically illiterate, they assume political participation is just voting, arguing about aspirants and candidates, but they don't hold people in office accountable. You have a governor that's stepping outside his actions with funds. It's simple. Make sure everybody that is in State of House of Assembly do not go to sleep that night. If the people stand up and say they are not going to sleep till the State of House of Assembly questions the governor, and if he's found wanting, he is impeached.
For example, Imo State, the market was about to be demolished. Didn't you see what happened? People lost their lives. People were injured, because they wanted to. What are you talking about?
Do you know
in a state where there's no.
Do you know the cost of freedom?
Oh.
Let me explain something, and let me be very clear about this.
Please do so.
There is nowhere in the world where you have that fancy, I want to go to Paris, I want to go to wherever, and you'd love the way the whole system. It wasn't built on things that we just say it just happened. It wasn't built on that. It was built on a lot of sacrifice. A lot, not slightly, a lot. From the French Revolution, British issues, to the American Civil War, they were all built on strife and sacrifice. Until we get to that point, I am not in any way calling for any revolution before I'm held by the red line, or whichever primary color they choose. My point is simple. People have to understand this. There's a cost for everything. It is clear. Till we get to that point, we will never get the Nigeria of our dreams. The cost does not mean, hey, we start burning things. No. Might be a constant persistence that the State House of Assembly is not meeting till they decide to discuss what happened to the funds. And there are different ways you could go about it. There are different ways. You don't need to write a letter. That's old school. Who's going to read the letter? Same set of people that you want to get out. So there's a system to all these things. The people can stand and they can forcefully stop it. The truth is, have they chosen to? No, they've not. So you can't absolve them of that blame. You want a perfect utopian Nigeria from tweeting on social media or writing messages on Facebook. That's not going to happen.
Okay, so talking about you running for Senate and on the political party, which is COA party. I remember in the last election, a lot of aspirants and candidates did complain of not being able to trust their political party because probably their mandates were given to another person, because probably that person paid higher, money exchanged hands, delegates were bribed to be able to vote a particular person. That's political party politics. How is it that you are able to trust this particular party to say, as a young person, because it's your first time, you should have gone with the party that has so-called experience, even though the experience is what's killing them. But then, you should have gone with the party that has so-called experience. But why COA party?
Let me explain this from a holistic view, or from a view that's very simple.
When
the Democratic Party in the U.S. was fielding candidates, you had your choice candidates. Or some of us had our choice candidates within the Democratic Party. It could have been Ben Carson, it could have been Hillary Clinton, it could have been Benjamin Sanders. Everybody had their choice candidates, because you saw a system within a political party that showed how candidates came about. Delegates here are just bribed at night, and then that's in the big parties. They're just bribed at night, and they just say, okay, here's your vice president and your president. Is that democratic? So yes, in my choice of a political party, I chose a political party where everybody voted equally for a particular aspirant, and there was no use of the delegate system within our party. And that is why I decided to, yeah, of course, running within a small party also gives you, how do I put it, access to the party founders, gives you access to, the trustees, the whole board. You sit down with these people one-on-one. So it's kind of hard. It's more like a family. It's not like, the systems you have outside. And
well, that's what I heard about the other political parties. It's more like a family. It's more like a family until they started to have issues, and then they were no longer families.
Let me give you. I rose to becoming a national publicity secretary at age about 36. Please tell me which other political party will afford that. You have a youth leader that is 25.
I'm happy for
How
you.
old is the youth leader?
I'm saying,
I don't want to help you with the. I know the age. Stick 2 in 1.
Okay.
I don't want to mention it.
No. I'm just trying to say that, you see, we cannot displace the place of experience, in leadership. Most times, if you want, the place of experience in leadership, most times, if you want to take over from someone or from in any organization, you must have been able to learn how, the organization runs. Either it is passed on to you, information from the top, or you learn it, as part of your orientation, but somehow you learn, so I don't want to displace it. For example, how young people are saying, oh, let's away with the old people, come the young people, because let me explain to you, most of our young people are not even ready to be there. Because you see, like you said, for you to be able to go against this big ticking machine, you have to be part of the machine. Do you know how this machine works? Because if this machine doesn't work, it doesn't have a template, it changes. You go into there and you say, I know the thing goes left. In front of you is jumping up, and you're confused because you didn't anticipate it. You didn't learn that these things have their symmetrics and all that. So my final conversation or question to you is, now you are a politician, maybe a detribalized one, maybe a structured one, but as a politician doing politics in a country where we say politics is dirty. I mean, like you said, you don't get certain things without sweat. There's going to be sweat. There's going to be struggle. INEC is having their issues of, late arrival of materials, tampering and manipulation of materials. Are you scared? Or, what's the way forward?
Am I scared? Of course. I would be scared of everything that's a new endeavor.
Okay.
But not scared in the sense that I don't think I wasn't cut out for it. It's different. Of course, with every experience, and I'll be honest, the build up to the election is a big, strenuous affair that I'm sure the day of the election will just be a simple thing.
Okay.
And of course, yes, because I'm running in a smaller party, I'll give a clear advantage now. I'm running a smaller party. I don't have to be looking for 300 million start to throw to delegates so that I come out. I don't need to do that. And that money, if I had the 300 million, will come in very handy when I'm already gaining grounds with my party instead of spending time driving delegates and I'm not sure where it's going. So yes, that's for which party I'm running. But I think if there's anything that, yes, you mentioned experience is good. Yeah, experience is good. But if you look at most of the great world leaders, and we're talking about people that have ruled the known world, Alexander the Great was somewhere at 21. So experience, yes, but experience has to come with tact.
That's why they had, vision. Counselors, people who had,
yes, of course, and I have a lot of mentors that are far, far, far ahead of me. We're talking about people that could have run for president, that people I think would make good presidents of this country. I have massive experience coming from, as in I interact with constantly on a daily basis. Even before I came to this show, I spoke with one of them, and he was like, "No, can you just be yourself? As in, just be yourself. There's no need to alter or try to impose who you are on anybody else." And I think that's the objective of politics. You just should offer a credible alternative. It's not a do or die affair.
I like that. It's not a do or die affair. So if you don't win, you won't die.
No.
I mean, if I don't vote you, you won't die.
No.
I'm just trying to say. I'm just saying, just know that if I don't vote you now, I'll see you, crying on air, saying, "Oh my God, you will not run again," and then, somehow, some years ago.
I'll move on to greater things.
Like
for me, and I would love to have a permanent seat in the UN, or knighted by the British Queen. Who knows? It's not. I'm not restricting myself
Tall,
to a particular
mystic ambitions, right here.
I am not restricting myself to a line.
Mr. Hope, you are hope, because you're constantly saying to us, there's hope, and we're progressing. I like that. I like the fact that you are not blinded by the seeming storms and situation that the country is going through. You have this firm hope that the government will help. That's your business. The ordinary man on the street is saying, "Well, you say we're out of recession. We're not out. The cost of Gary, cost of Maggie has still not reduced. Well, you say you're fighting corruption. No conviction yet. And instead, it's looking like, we're joking. The reality, that's my conversation now, is glaring before you and me and every Nigerian. As much as it's good to give hope, be sincere and say to yourself, what would you like to see the government do better? Let me use the word do better, because you don't ever want to hear that the government is not doing anything. So in what areas would you like to see the government, do better, function well, and help out? Because you see, until this progress is translated to the everyday food, everyday living of the everyday Nigerian, I'm sorry, our GDP doesn't concern anybody.
Education.
Okay.
The fight against corruption. And I also think...
Sorry, when you say the fight against corruption, what do you want them to do better?
I think when you want to fight corruption, when you want to really fight corruption, you also have to think about building systems. Like if you look at the TSA, the TSA is models to fight corruption. So I think the government should also build systems.
I'm liking that you mentioned that. Well, the TSA was modeled to fight corruption, is it?
Yes, it was modeled. And
is it fighting corruption?
Yes, to a good extent, to a good, okay, maybe from what you think, but from what I know, TSA is working and it's helping out, because what plays out before is when this money are in these ministries or in whoever's hands, it's very difficult to monitor or know what goes on or how the money is being used. But now it's in a single account, so it's easier for the Minister of Finance to say okay or to say not. So I think building systems, just like in the public sector, building systems, basically will help out. Will help everyone go a very long way in fighting corruption.
All right, thank you so much. It has been a wonderful time right here on the show. The candidate till I come your way again on Monday. Monday we'll have the candidate again. I'm going to be having someone talking about the details of what happened in Anambra election. All this conversation that Mr. Kemas is giving us, we will get the nitty-gritty pictures, stuff, the real stuff that happened, and we'll also try to get voices of Anambrans, if there's someone like that, or Anambra citizens who are actually happy or sad at the outcome of the elections. I mean, just because because the governor is happy with him being re-elected does not mean that the populace is happy. Thank you so much, Mr. Kunle Lawal, who is a management consultant and the National Publicity Secretary of Core Party and a Senate aspirant in the FCT. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much to Kemas. Kemas is a public affairs consultant and all things policy and strategy for the government, even though I seem to think that he has been bribed. It's like one of those delegates that they threw money in the night. I feel like that's what has happened. It has been a wonderful time right here on air. My name is Tracy. Thank you so much, Monday. Thank you so much, Queen Jane. It has been a wonderful time. Mary, you've left. I love you. I miss you. I did not see you. To my head of programs, thank you so much. My executive strategist, thank you, sir, for the platform. Yes, not forgetting my visual analysts, my technicians, everybody that is right there, Mr. Chike, thank God. Don't worry, I'll get every other person's name. Thank you so much. Till I come your way again tomorrow. Bye.